Hi, I'm Lindsay Smith, the founder of Tact. While attending SocialWest in Calgary, I had the opportunity to sit down with Charlie Grinnell, co-CEO of Rightmetric. Charlie and his team help some of North America's leading brands uncover what he calls Outsights. Essentially, it's data derived from external digital behavior, competitive intelligence, and market signals that traditional research methods often miss. In this conversation, we explore how AI is transforming consumer research, while behavior data is becoming increasingly valuable. We also talked about how brands can better understand what people actually do rather than simply relying on what they say. Let's get into it. All right, well, we are here live at SocialWest. It is the 10-year anniversary, and we've got Charlie Grinnell from Rightmetric. You're the co-CEO, and I was reading your bio, and I have to tell you, Charlie, I was really fascinated by it. So first of all, I would love to hear a little bit more about Rightmetric and what you guys do, and then we're going to get into talking about Outsights, which was a new term to me. So let's start off with what your company does.
Yeah, so I run a company called Rightmetric. I co-founded it 8 years ago. We focus on something that we call Outsight. And really it's helping brands on the consumer side harness external digital data across the digital ecosystem. So social, search, .com, app, ad spend, et cetera. And yeah, what we've done is basically built infrastructure to pull in all these different data sets. Then we have a team of really smart people that are way smarter than I am who slice, dice, and can like take that information, clean it, organize it, visualize it, and then provide recommendations and learnings to brands on what their next move should be. Primarily, we kind of focus in 3 buckets: audience research, competitive benchmarking, and a lot of stuff around content, because obviously like content is the fuel that's kind of going into the marketing car, so to speak. So yeah, started that 8 years ago. We work with, we're a fully remote team. We work with a lot of big brands. And
how does that compare to tools that like sentiment testing and other software tools that people can just sign up for and use themselves? It sounds like yours is more of a combination of software and like insights consulting.
Yeah, so it is
or
that
outsights consulting,
outside
I should
consulting.
say.
So yeah, like when we talk about like how our service has evolved, when my co-founder and I started the company, we were like, oh, we'll build a SaaS tool. This will be great. We'll build a SaaS tool. Very quickly, we realized and we heard from our best customers, please do not make another tool that I have to log into. The last thing I want is another tool that I have to log into. I'm busy. I want to know the answer.
Just give me the solution.
Right? Like I want to know the answer, or I want you to help me think through. And so we were like, okay, that's leaning more like consultancy side. But in order for us to come prepared to deliver a great experience from a consulting perspective, we need access to a bunch of different data sets, which we've bought access to. And then within that, there's a whole bunch of data operations that need to happen to, like I said, clean it, organize it, pull things together, build methodologies, et cetera.
So is it a combination of other tooling that you've built or that already exists and then you've built on top of it?
Yeah, so basically we've bought access to, I think we're like 32 different data sources now that come in. We've built our own environment where all that stuff kind of lands. And then we've built a whole bunch of different workflows, tooling, et cetera, in that environment that allows us to output the things that we need to output for our clients, right? So answering different tough questions. And so, yeah, like it's not necessarily something that like any brand can kind of go do this, but like, do they want to go buy all the tools to have access to all the data, like a holistic landscape of something? Do they then want to like pull it all together, clean it, organize it, visualize it, do analysis on it, generate something that's relevant to the business and go from there? And we spend a lot of time actually with our customers helping frame the question as opposed to providing the answer. And I think like there's this phrase where it's like, what is it? A problem well stated is a problem half solved.
Right.
Oftentimes we have, big brands come at us and go, we're struggling with this. And we go, oh, okay, cool. And we start to kind of like talk to them. And then what we get into is like, oh, well, to solve this thing, you actually need to solve these 5 other things. And the sum of those 5 things will give you the answer to that.
Totally.
And then they go, oh, wow. So yeah, it was one of those things where like, as a founder, I was like, oh, SaaS, like this sexy business model. And then just kind of like listening to our customers was like, oh, well, no, we want someone who can come to the table and provide something that the internal insights team can't provide or the internal analytics team can't provide. And so, traditionally, big brands have these analytics teams that are looking at their own data, which is great. You need to do that. And then their like research functions are primarily surveys, focus groups, polling.
Yep.
and that'll only get you so far. And I have strong opinions on.
I want to hear
on
those
that.
opinions. Let's get into that. Let's get into that. I'm also curious to hear more about like what are there insights or trends that you're seeing in the when you're doing this? Like, is it mostly for consumer brands? Are you looking for different?
Primarily for consumer brands.
Okay.
And I think the overall like macro trend that I would just explain to marketers more broadly is there is so much data around us that we have never been able to count before because it's been either cost prohibitive, time prohibitive, or like we just didn't even really realize that we could count that. And I think what's really exciting is like 8 years ago when we started the company, we were like, hey, there are all these kind of like different alternative data providers that have really strong ingredients that we could pull together and start to use as signal. What's been fascinating with AI now is like that has just been turbocharged, and like I feel like AI is like a buzzword in a drinking game.
It is, but you can't. I know, but you can't. I think it's funny that like it's been building for 20 years, but then all of a sudden it is the buzzword. It's kind of like when tech first started, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's going to be tech," and it's like, well, it's layered in everything.
Totally.
But yeah, it's. I am interested in hearing your perspective on that.
Well, and I think like the thing that's so fascinating with AI, less about the like, oh my God, AI is coming for our jobs or anything like that. Like, separate talk show. Mm-hmm. What's fascinating for us in the like research and data space is now it is not resource prohibitive to go and count something that has been sitting there, right? Like, so we can now point an AI agent at this thing and be like, hey, go scrape all of that, go pull that and quantify that against this. Yeah. Before, a human wouldn't do that. Yeah. Like a human here wouldn't do it. Maybe you could find, an offshore resource to go and do that, but that's also not fun for them either, right? And so now I think we're about to learn a ton about human psychology because we're going to be able to count and pull meaning from things that we previously haven't been able to count and pull meaning from. And I think that's going to like change and challenge a lot of the stereotypes that we as marketers and also just more broadly like humans have associated with different stereotypes. We worked for a large grocery company in Canada that's focused on the West. Okay. That is owned by one of the richest people in Canada. There's 2 grocery companies in Canada. Mm-hmm. One is Loblaws, the other is the one that we're talking about. And I was sitting, this is like 5 years ago, and I'm sitting with the CMO there, super nice guy. We had just done some work for them. We had delivered it to them. And in the grocery business, marketing equals flyer. Mm-hmm. Like that's marketing in the grocery business. Oh, what's on the flyer this week? Yeah. That's literally how they did it. And so they were spending, I think at the time, like $15 or $17 million a year printing and distributing and also like the pricing in this flyer to like all of that. And Loblaws had just gone digital with their app. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, like there's some big kind of changes happening in the grocery space. And I was like, well, yeah, have you guys like ever thought about looking into that? And they're like, we can't. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, why don't you look at their app usage and see if like it's translated over and you can start to kind of triangulate the truth. So we like opened up some of our tools. We looked at the email send data from Loblaws. Mm-hmm. We looked at the app usage. We looked at the web traffic stuff. We looked at their ad spend around all of the announcements of like our paper flyer is going away and we're moving fully digital. Mm-hmm. And we were able to kind of start to quantify that. Right. And they were worried that like, oh, we couldn't possibly go digital because like the people who rely on our flyer and like that's our only marketing lever. Mm. They didn't even realize that data was out there to look at. Right. So it's less even about like like which one should we be looking at? It's like, did you even know that this exists? Mm-hmm. And now that you know that exists, it's probably going to break your frame a little bit and change the way that you approach strategy because now your inputs are different. Mm-hmm. Right? So you might typically have gone, hey, we follow this process. But now all of a sudden, if I've given you these new ingredients that you didn't know you had access to, that's probably going to change your process and workflow and probably change the way that you think and approach strategy. So that's an example of like, hey, I didn't know that I could look at the ad spend of my competitors, or hey, I didn't know that I could look at the email deliverability and open rates and subject lines and creative in the email and all these different things that are super rich signal in a quantified way. So you're even going beyond just looking at the audience. Can I say insights still, or do I have to say outsights? You can say insight. I mean, I think the way that we think about it is like insight is looking at internal stuff, outside is external, and you need both. Right. You do need both. You can get insights from your own data, which you need to do. Yeah. And like that's the last 15 years. Yeah. You need to do that. But I think that this idea of looking externally using digital data is relatively novel and new for people. And so that's kind of why we were like, because oftentimes people are like, you run an analytics company, and we're like, sort of. And then we're like, okay, well, but like, are you going to use our data? And we're like, no. You have your own team of nerds who know how to do that. We're actually going to be able to augment that with all these other things. And they're like, so like focus groups? And I'm like, no. Or like polling? No. It's like how people behave more broadly
so
across
it's almost
the
like you're
internet.
opening up a whole new analytics channel.
Totally.
When people typically say analytics, they're looking at just like looking at the data, looking for insights and so on, so I could see that comparison. But really, the reason why you're looking at it differently is if we chunk it into the analytics bucket, people are going to overlook it and they're not going to realize that it is a whole new area.
And it's just a different skill set. So like, I'll give an example. Like we do a lot of work with brands on enriching their segmentation with behavioral data.
Okay.
So like big brand will come to us, a bank will come to us and be like, here's our segmentation.
Right.
And they've spent a bunch of money with insert big research company. And it'll be like, this persona is Steve. Steve is a 55-year-old white male who does blah, 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 blah. And then the brand team will turn around and hand that to the social team or the email team or the whatever. And the email team goes, what do I do with this?
Right.
So what happens is they'll actually then give that to us, and then we'll take that, put that data into our tools and start to enrich it and go like, behaviorally, what does Steve do? Oh, well, Steve's down forums about woodworking equipment. Or Steve is really interested in these news sites and these specific creators that they follow.
Right.
Maybe about woodworking.
Yeah.
So then if you're a marketer, what do we do with that? Oh, well, we could buy banner ads around that forum. Do we actually do some community management in that forum? Do we partner with that creator? Like, do we run pre-roll in front of that creator's stuff? Like, you start to get an idea of the behavior of Steve instead of just being like, oh, well, I assume that since Steve is 55, he probably does this.
Right.
Right. And so our big thing is like, don't listen to what people say, because that traditional segmentation is going to be built off of focus groups and polling and surveys.
Right.
Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do.
So would you suggest to companies that they, at any point in time, would be a good time to actually go and look into Outsights and work with an organization like yours?
We do a ton of it, like huge companies. Like we
Yeah.
have people who come through our website and I'm like, whoa, this is a big company.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, surely they have this.
Right.
And it's like, well, no, here's our like segmentation. And you're like, holy moly.
Yeah, I was surprised how many big companies don't. It is interesting to see.
I joke about it like the Wizard of Oz, right? From far away, it looks like this big shiny thing.
Yeah.
And this isn't a knock on big companies. This is just any company.
Totally.
Right? Like companies are messy.
Different levels.
We talk about how it's all like this perfect thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah. Often the bigger it is too, the more messy it gets because it grows in different areas.
Yep.
So it's got strengths in some areas and weaknesses in others.
Totally.
Well, thank you so much today, Charlie. That was really, I wanted to say insightful, but maybe we'll say it was really informative, and I appreciate that. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay at SocialWest today.
Thank you very much for having me.